Are you tired of this happening while taming a gacha? My name's Sekorsa, and today I'll show you how to tame a gacha, and if you stick around I'll tell you a couple of neat things about tamed gacha. First off, let's prepare. Gacha are a little bit different when compared to other non-violent tames. They will eat almost anything. As a general rule, they eat items in stacks of 20 at a time. Items with higher engram levels provide better taming percentage. Items that use more raw materials give better taming percentage than items with less raw materials. Items with higher rarity provide better taming percentage than the same item with a lower rarity. So, for example, metal foundations give more taming percent than metal walls, which give more taming percent than metal windows, which give more taming percent than wooden windows. With that out of the way, the food you're going to need in order from most effective to least effective. Greenhouse structures, metal structures, stone structures, wood structures, thatch structures, snow owl pellets. While they will take tech structures, there isn't much difference between tech and greenhouse. I'd recommend you use greenhouse walls or metal foundations. If you're looking for faster taming, metal foundations will be a bit better, however greenhouse walls are more material efficient. Due to a high amount of variability between items, it's hard to pin down an exact time and quantity, so these times and quantities are estimates. The times I'm presenting are for greenhouse walls, which are almost identical to tech walls, stone walls, which sit between metal and wooden walls, thatch walls, which is slightly better than snow owl pellets, and regular stone, which is the most resource effective way to tame, but absolutely destroys the taming effectiveness. At a default taming rate, a level 30 can take between 20 seconds and 4 minutes, a level 60 can take between 30 seconds and 4.5 minutes, a level 120 can take between 45 seconds and 6.5 minutes, a level 150 can take between 1 and 8 minutes. These times are the difference between greenhouse walls and raw stone. As a side note, these numbers are not the same as what you would find on Dodo decks. I arrived at these times by spawning a gacha of each level in a small cage and throwing the items at it, then recording the tame percentage gain and extrapolating the time to tame from that. I consider these to be the absolute minimum amount you would need. In fact, definitely bring more. I noticed a few things during my testing that warrant this. Gacha constantly eat. If they're not actively shoveling food in their mouths, their taming percentage will start dropping. Their eating animation is approximately 5 seconds, so you do have a bit of a grace period. Gacha will eat anything off the ground, but only items dropped from a player's inventory count towards taming. I do not know if these behaviors are bugs or intended, but for the time being, over-preparation is my only solution. I also need to note that if there is another gacha of the same gender within 15 foundation distance, the gacha will have a sadness debuff and will refuse to eat. If the gacha is injured, that will also cause the sadness debuff to trigger. To get rid of the sadness debuff, you need to clear the debuff conditions and either wait it out or try tactics to reset the gacha by having all nearby players exit render distance or quit to menu and come back. In my experience, I found that waiting it out only takes a few minutes. It's much easier to have everyone to leave render distance or just quit to main menu if you're on single player. You'll want to have a mount that can hold all the materials you need to tame the gacha. Something that can hold at least 1,000 units of weight is necessary, but 3,000 or more units of weight would be preferable. Gacha will only eat items within their range, and they will not actively seek out items on the ground. However, they will walk in a small circle once the taming has started. This means the best time to start the tame is when they're sitting. Just drop your taming item from your inventory in front of them. Once the gacha stands back up, it'll eat the item you dropped. It will now walk in a small circle on that spot. Wait for the gacha to finish the first stack before moving on to the next one. If you're worried about items despawning or you're having difficulty getting the tame started, you could always build a trap. A 2x2 stone box with 1 high walls and a ramp up one side of it. The only problem about this is the gacha will have the sadness debuff due to being hit while you're luring it into the trap. Another type of trap you can use is to wait until the gacha is sitting down, then place metal billboards to surround it. This should allow you to trap the gacha without damaging it, thus eliminating that reason for the sadness debuff. However, they can still be sad due to the same gender being nearby. If your settings allow for it, gacha can be picked up by a Quetzal and carried back to a pre-built taming pen. This should not count as damage and should not trigger the sadness debuff. Whichever way you decide to use, drop the items for the gacha to pick up until it's tamed. If this video is helpful, make sure you like and share it. Your support really helps out the channel. Now for the neat facts that I promised earlier. The gacha saddle engram can be learned at level 38 and be crafted in your inventory with hide, fiber, and chitin. Their primary attack is a claw swipe, and their secondary attack is a fist smash. Gacha pick up every item on the ground within their range and place it in their inventory, where they start to eat it. As the gacha eats whatever is in its inventory, it will produce gacha crystals from its back, at a rate of about 1 per minute. Normally, this resource is chosen at random from a list that is determined when the gacha is tamed or bred, containing 3 items from the common resource list, 2 from the uncommon resource list, and 1 from the rare or very rare resource list. Furthermore, you can choose a specific resource that the gacha is capable of producing from the radial menu. On this specific gacha, it has fiber, fractured green gems, and sand from the common resources, silica pearls, and congealed gas balls from the uncommon resources, and sulfur from the rare resources. Occasionally, the gacha crystal will have a rarity. These crystals will contain a structure piece or an item instead of a resource. Sometimes structure pieces will show up in regular gacha crystals when production is set to any. The gacha's crafting skill influences the gacha crystal. There are 2 crafting skill thresholds that you need to keep in mind when you're leveling up your gacha. The first being 160%. At this threshold, resources found inside the gacha crystals will be at their maximum value. The second threshold is 260%. At this point, it has a higher chance to produce max rarity loot from the gacha crystals. However, it's difficult to reach this point, but is possible through luck when taming a high-level gacha or with breeding and mutations. The effects past 260% are greatly diminished. Gacha can also consume snow owl pellets to boost the quality of the next gacha crystal they produce. So in summary, if you're using a gacha just for resources, you shouldn't worry about raising the crafting skill higher than 160%. If you're going for equipment, you'll want to aim for 260%. Gacha becomes sad when there's another gacha of the same gender within about 15 foundation distance. Once they have the sad debuff, they will have longer periods between eating, eat more at one time, and produce lower quality crystals. If the sadness debuff is active, there will be dull colored sparkles hovering on their back. If you have ally look turned on, the gacha will avoid eye contact with survivors. For tame gacha, you can introduce a gacha of the opposite gender to speed up recovery. Otherwise, it will take some time before the sad debuff disappears. Non-adults do not count towards the sadness debuff. If you bring a gacha to raw resources, they will automatically harvest them. Gacha have a 50% carry weight reduction for raw metal, stone, and wood. There's an alternate form of the gacha called Gacha Claws, which first appeared during the Winter Wonderland 3 event. Gacha Claws accepts either mistletoe or coal and drops a gacha crystal from its back in return. These gacha crystals have a modified loot table to contain coal, mistletoe, dino candy, item skins, seasonal decorations, or chibi pets. If there are no crystals on its back, the Gacha Claws will accept the mistletoe or coal and give you nothing in return. Also, Gacha Claws will eat up to 10 mistletoe or coal at a time and only give you one item in return. For best results, only place one in at a time. To refresh the crystal on its back, Gacha Claws needs to be able to destroy nearby resources. That's all I've got for today. Thank you guys so very much for watching, and have yourselves a very good day.